Welcome everyone. My name is Robert Sanborn. I'm the superintendent at Cape Cod Regional Technical High School, and we're here to talk to you about a building project at our school, which will culminate with a October 24th vote with the polls open from 12 to 8. First, I want to start with some thank yous, and then I will go into why an investment in Cape Cod Tech is a wise choice. I'm going to go a little bit of the history about this 4 to 5 year journey that we've been on at Cape Cod Tech to revitalize our facility, and then I'm going to turn it over to Vladimir Leveyeski from Drummond, Rosane, and Anderson, who's our architect on the plan. We're also joined by Ken Guyette for questions and answers from Colliers International, and the school committee members, Dr. Rich Hoffman is in the audience, Scott McGee from Mashpee is in the audience, and Dr. Bloomfield from Mashpee as well is in the audience. So I'll turn it over to Vladimir for the design, and then I'll come back with the financial impact and a little bit about the reimbursement rate, and finally the mechanics of the vote, which is, as I said, on October 24th from 12 to 8. So first, our school building committee was formed quite a while ago, and as you look down this list, you'll see several town managers and previous town managers, several finance directors, members of my staff, public safety officials, architects, value-added engineers, and engineers themselves. A 25-member group that was formed at the beginning of this process, and I'll go over that in the history section, which I think is a very strong group that's come to what I think is a logical decision in this case. So quickly, why investment in Cape Cod Tech? Cape Cod Tech is a regional vocational technical high school. It serves the towns of Provincetown and Mashpee, and we are in partnership with the Mass School Building Authority. I'll go more into that as we go down this presentation. But they did a study through Northeastern University with Barry Bluestone, who actually resides in my district in Wellfleet, and they looked at the jobs that we train students in regional vocational schools across the state. And they noticed what's known as the skills gap, that all of the programs that Cape Cod Tech is moving forward with in this building project enjoy double-digit wage growth, demand for the jobs that we train. And that demand is also driven by the need for replacement workers. They estimate 1.2 million jobs in the programs that we train students in through 2022, as it says on the screen. And of particular note, this was a statewide report, but they had a whole section and mentioned in particular the Cape Cod and the islands for an acute need for the jobs that we train students in because of the heavy service industry. And also, have you tried to look for a plumber? Have you tried to look for an electrician these days? The average age is in the mid to high 50s. There is a dire need for replacement workers as well as job growth. So a little brief history of how we got to where we are today. In 2011 through 2014, we submitted to the Mass School Building Authority. At the same time, we were talking to our 12 towns about the capital needs, that our operating budget would no longer be able to keep up with the intense capital needs that were coming down the pike. So we submitted 4 statements of interest to the Mass School Building Authority, and we were unsuccessful in all 4 attempts. And then we enlisted the help of our legislative delegation, although the MSBA says that they are immune to the legislative process. Lo and behold, you see the MSBA came about a month later after we invited our legislators in January. In February, the Mass School Building Authority came and toured our facility. And then in October, they did a senior study, which is usually an indicator that they're thinking of bringing you into their program. This is now our 5th attempt. And then, because of that senior study, we brought the 12 town managers to our facility to say, I think we're finally going to get in and with a partnership with the School Building Authority. And lo and behold, in January of 2015, started this high-speed race, and this is the timelines that are put forward by the Mass School Building Authority in January of 2015. And we started by forming that School Building Committee I shared with you. We also agreed upon an enrollment of 650 students. When they talk about enrollment and projection for enrollment, they're not looking down 10 years or 20 years. They're looking at a 40-year time frame. A little bit of a crystal ball to say that in 40 years you're going to know how many students are going to be on the Cape. As we know, we had a big drop, kind of leveled off enrollment in the next 10 to 15 years looks pretty much stable, stagnant, not a lot of growth, not a lot of decline. The drop happened in the early 2000s. So we quickly, we also shared our capital plans and our maintenance plans, and if you ever walk into our existing facility, I think you'll see a building that's been well kept. We've been good stewards of the taxpayers' money over these 45 years. And then we did that, and I'm happy to say we got 1.25 extra points for our maintenance and capital planning, reimbursement points, I should say, from the MSPA. So we quickly transitioned in September to feasibility, and we brought our owner's project manager through a public procurement process, and that ended up being Colliers International. Ken works for them and works for us on our behalf as our owner's project manager. And then we brought on through a public procurement process as well our architect and designer, Drummy, Roseanne, and Anderson, and Vladimir represents that firm. Soon after that, in April, we brought in for the first time our town clerks. The town clerks are pivotal because per our regional agreement, via Chapter 7116N, we need to have this vote to take on any debt as a district. Our district was founded in the early 70s with this exact same process we're going through, going to 12 towns to get a vote on the same day to give us the authority with a majority vote, I'll go a little more into that after, to take on debt. That's the only way we can do this. At that meeting, we arrived at the October 24th date and the election times from 12 to 8, which is unusual, and I will go into why it's 12 to 8. And then in November, you've probably seen the headlines, we made a preferred solution. And at that time, it was about a $141 million solution, and I'll go into that a little bit more in detail. On January, actually I think Vladimir, you're going to go into that more in detail. The preferred solution was submitted. We got approved by the MSBA in February, then we brought the town clerks back in. Because we needed to talk with our bond council to say what's the election, what's the ballot going to look like, what's going to warrant calling for the election going to look like. And on that same track, we were taking the schematic design of our preferred solution, which is a new facility to the east side, which we'll go into more detail on. And that was submitted in June of 2017 to the MSBA. And then other milestones were that the MSBA approved our schematic design and budget, and that's the numbers that we've been reading about in the paper, which is approximately a $128 million project, with $86 million being on the towns from Provincetown to Mashpee. And then the school committee followed up by calling for the ballot, the election warrant, which I'll be delivering to our town clerks over the next couple of days. The ballots have been printed, absentee ballots are now available. And then for the vote on October 24th, 2017 from 12 to 8. I just want to go over that one more time. Absentee ballots in all 12 towns are available now. And you can submit them right up until the end of the election time at 8 o'clock on the 24th. The last time you could pick them up was on October 23rd by noon. And then the other thing is to register to vote. You have up until 8 o'clock on October 4th, which is 20 days before the election, to register to vote for all the districts that are watching this. So I'm going to turn it over to Vladimir now to talk a little bit about the process of how we came to the conclusion that new construction over renovation was the right choice. So Vladimir.
Thank you, Bob. The process presented here is a process that actually endorsed by MSBA, the agency that partially funds this project. And this is a very logical, very particular process that leads to the project, where we start with something called educational plan. It's very important to understand what the goals are for the project, what the direction that the project would want to take. And this educational plan is based on the good practices that MSBA and the funding authority, the state funding authority, endorses and promotes. They would not approve any project unless there is an educational plan, solid reasons for what this project needs to be and where it wants to go. And as part of the educational plan development, I'll talk in a minute. We had visioning sessions. That's where we started this project, where we assembled a group of people, including school committee members and public members and school staff and educators, and for 3 days spent time discussing the goals, educational goals of this project. I'll touch base on this more in a few minutes. So following the educational plan, we came up with options based on criteria developed at that time. We looked at 7 options, and I'll go in more detail in a few minutes of this, but we overall looked at the 7 options, including renovations, renovation additions, and new construction options for this project. And the next step, in order to evaluate the options, we had to develop a criteria. And with input from the public, from the building community, from the school, a set of criteria was developed in order to evaluate what would be the best solution for this particular project. That led to the short list of the options and led to creation and development of the project that when the preferred solution was established, we then moved to schematic design and developed it a little bit further to bring the project to the scope and budget point. It's an agreement between the region and the state of what this project will be. So, getting back to this first step, the visioning sessions, we spent 3 days at the school, pretty much full days, and the visioning sessions were led by Dr. Walker, who is well-known, actually internationally known, expert in educational trends, and we as an architects participated in those sessions and looked at what the future of education for Cape Cod Tech can bring. What are the trends? What are the modern trends? What are the directions that the project may take? And after those 3 days, getting back and forth discussions, this idea showed up, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, the idea of connection, establishing better connection between the academic programs and the technical programs within the school. Current school separates it, the vocational program on one side, academic classrooms and spaces elsewhere in the building, and then no direct connection. So this was one of the significant drivers for where this design, how this design was developed based on this idea. And another part of the discussion at the time, and during that time, a team of architects, engineers, and experts looked at the existing facility, the existing building, existing conditions, in order to understand and analyze what shape the building was in. And we discovered there were a few issues with the building, even though it was well maintained over the years. There still were a few issues that were concerning, and we put course on those issues, and that led to some decisions, which we'll talk in a few minutes, as we looked at the options here. One of the, you can see on the screen, one of the challenges for this project was the fact that the brick on the building had some damage to it, and actually some structural concerns. We actually opened a few walls, maybe about 20 cuts there through the walls to look at the wall construction behind the brick facade, and there were some issues that would lead to, if we do nothing here, we would probably need to replace the facade of the building, replace all windows and roofs and other parts of the building. You see on this picture we show that some concrete that rests on it and had some structural concerns that would have to be addressed no matter what. Another area within the building we looked at was handicap accessibility. As you know, in modern world we expect all buildings to be accessible. with people with disabilities, and the building has a few areas that have barriers, stairs, ramps, no direct access to spaces. So that was a concern that would have to be addressed. Outdated infrastructure, the systems, lots of mechanical, electrical systems came to the end of its expected life, so this would be addressed. It would have to be addressed as well by replacing those. And there were quite a few original building design was based on this idea of open plan classrooms, and then subsequently over the years those open areas got separated by walls and the classrooms, and those classrooms probably smaller in size first of all, but second there's no access to daylight, and this is not what we expect modern education and modern school building to be. So that brought us to creation of those 7 alternatives, as I mentioned earlier. And I have to mention that we also established an alternative called base repairs. Basically, we sometimes refer to this alternative as do-nothing solution. In other way, if you don't address any educational concerns, if you only have to repair infrastructure in the building and correct environmental issues, correct the handicap accessibility issues, that option, just that option alone, we estimated at the range of $35 to $65 million for project cost. And this is when there are really no other educational concerns addressed. From there, we moved to those 6 options that I mentioned. The option called A1 was renovation only option with no addition, and then we had two options that provided additions to the side of the building, additional classroom space, and to the front of the building, and then we had 3 options that provided a new construction solution for this project. And if you look at the cost line items on the right-hand side of this chart, you will see that actually the cost for all those options were fairly close together. So when we established criteria for the project, I'll skip the one side and get back to it. When we established criteria for the project, the cost actually was almost equal in all those solutions. So we could look at other criteria that were established. The first one was educational performance of the building, as I mentioned earlier, established educational goals for the project, and you can see that on those goals on this chart we have least advantageous as represented by red, most advantageous represented by green color, and you can see that looking across the board that taking cost out of the consideration, the best solutions were replacement of the existing building with a new construction. Less disruptive, that was one of the important criteria, disruption to current school activities. Those were less disruptive solutions. They provided the best educational outcome and basically delivered the building to the district that would meet the critical elements of the original goals. Moving on to the proposed design, here is the site plan. If you can see, it's probably hard to see, the red line represents the original building, and the proposed building is located to the west of the existing site, and to describe it, you can see the main entrance to the site. We maintain this existing road intact, and then part of the reason this site was selected, and I'll go a couple slides back, we looked at this other three alternatives here and selected this one based on the least disruption to the school and the fact like C4 option, for example, would put this proposed new construction on top of the existing septic field. It creates issues with cost, additional cost, and also the construction phasing of the project. Option C1 would put the building on the football field again, provides extra disruption and need to replace that field there. And option C3 was discarded. Again, it's not the best location of the site. So following through these options, option C2 option was established as the best potential location for the new building, for the new structure. So here is a proposed site plan as I started describing it, and we follow the entry road to the site that pretty much stays the same way. The school can stay in operation while we are constructing this new building. The minor disruption, we're planning for some what we call construction phasing modifications during construction, where a particular part of the site is given to the contractor, and we make some adjustments to existing parking lot arrangements to allow for the building to be built and the school to stay occupied. The way this building is positioned, as you can see, there is a ring road around this building, and that provides opportunity for deliveries for the technical vocational shops. There's some heavy shops there, carpentry and automotive shops require access on grade. So the back side of the building, we provided access to those shops. The main entrance is facing, it's actually located pretty much directly from the entry point that exists today at the site. And they basically line up, if you've been to the site, those 2 points coincide there. And then the building plan, this plan is rotated 90 degrees to what you just saw there. There is one main entrance to the new facility, and this is driven by security concerns. We want everybody to check in at the front door. We don't want people to wander into this facility to multiple locations. So the fact that there is one point of entrance for the public was very important and key to development of this design element. And the administration function is located, administration area is located right adjacent to the center entrance. So as someone walks through the main door, they have guided to go directly to administration area to check into the building before they can come in further. Another driving force in this type of building is the fact that certain design of this building, that certain functions need to be accessible by the public. There is culinary art program, there is cosmetology program inside the school, and those programs are normally accessed by the public, by the patrons. So those elements are located right as you enter at the top of the screen there. As you enter through the main doors, on the right-hand side, there is a restaurant that's part of the culinary arts program, and then further down this main street, as we refer to it, there is entrance to the cosmetology program. The same Main Street area also serves as entry to a lobby for the gymnasium. So this area is fairly efficient, compact design, somewhat reminiscent of existing school building that has that main spine coming through the building, but on a smaller scale, more appropriate to the size of this particular building. And as we go further, another element of the design here that's important and important to the new facilities designed today, new schools, new educational visions, are shared spaces, and one of this is the space that serves as cafeteria, but we now refer to it as student commons. And that again allows space for collaboration, allows space for students to get together and exchange ideas, have an open space. It's not separated by the walls, not like old-fashioned cafeteria. You can actually come right through that space. And in this particular design, we have change in grade, where you have to go down the stairs or along the ramp to come to that space. And those stairs are designed in a way you can actually sit on those. Sometimes those stairs referred as Google stairs. So it will have further renderings of the spaces that we can share with you as we go along. And then as we come down the spine to the main school area, basically what we see here, the school is designed around 5 academies. And this idea of academies, when you remember the earlier slide where we placed the classrooms in the vicinity of the shops, these designs right here represent a grouping of vocational technical shops directly across the corridor from those shops. You have classrooms, you have a science lab in each one of those academies, you have teachers' planning areas, area in the same grouping of spaces, and you have that flex space like it is in the heart of it. We'll show some renderings representing all those areas. If I move to the upper level of the building, you can see that the building, as we refer to it, is stacked very well. The second floor is located or spaces, classroom spaces in particular, on the second floor located directly over classroom on the first floor, which is an efficient way to design a building. The toilet cores are stacked, so it allows for the building footprint to be as tight as it is as possible, thus being fairly economical in the way it's planned. Another feature here, you can see that same spine that we saw on circulation spine that we saw on the first floor, also present on the second floor. And as you come closer to the vacational areas on the second floor, we have programs that IT programs and health and medical spaces. As you get closer to those spaces, what used to be known as Media Center or Library is now known as Learning Commons. Again, this is a space not necessarily separated by walls from the corridor. This is a space where you expect students to gather to work on the projects together. It's more dynamic space than the traditional library used to be. So this is, from our point of view and working with the school, this is really the future of education here. This is what we expect to see in the buildings. And then another level in the structure is actually the lower level, located under the gymnasium, where we place the locker rooms and exercise space and some mechanical spaces. Again, trying to keep this footprint of the building as compact as possible. We have a tight site, and it makes sense to stack spaces. We have 2 elevators here. Again, the building is fully handicap accessible, and because of the size of the building, it actually makes sense to provide 2 elevators here and multiple stairs for vertical circulation. Then looking at the proposed design, here is the view of the main entrance of the building. What this design was trying to highlight where the entrance was, introduce glass areas, because we were trying to bring as much daylight into the interior core of the building as possible and make it open, inviting. You can see there is some aesthetic reference to the Cape court type structure at the front here. This tower here houses the stair that connects the levels. Walking inside the building, you can see on the top right-hand side corner, this is the image of the student commons cafeteria, where I mentioned earlier, space for collaboration, not just a space where you would have lunch. The image just below it is a representation of the flex space. That space will be located right adjacent to the classroom. You see how classroom spaces are open into that space. And again, the idea is here that students can gather and collaborate, work on the projects collectively. And then the image at the very bottom represents the learning commons, library, media center area located on the second floor. It shows this concept of open space, lots of daylight. The image on the left shows the main corridor on the second floor, the spine I mentioned earlier. Again, daylight coming from the overhead glass and the glass located at the front here. And this pretty much describes the building. We can spend more time talking about it, but I want to get Bob back in the picture.
Thank you, Vladimir. The slide you see here is our current enrollment on October 1 of last year. And the reason for this slide is to give you a sense of our district, 12 towns, and also the capital cost in our regional agreement, the cost for this facility, are apportioned on an enrollment basis. So, and that is annually recalculated. So, for example, 29.4% of the project or capital costs, if we were basing it on this enrollment, would be for Marston. So Vladimir's shared several options and the cost estimates in feasibility study. Where are we now with the new construction, which is at the east side of our current facility? And as Vladimir said, it is the least disruptive to education because we can continue on as is while this new building is constructed, if it's approved in October 24th. The estimate right now is $127 million, 45% as our published reimbursement rate from the Mass School Building Authority. But as you'll find when you work with the MSBA, many things are ineligible for reimbursement. So our effective reimbursement rate right now is 33%, which is about $41 million of this project coming from the state, with $86 million, as I said earlier, apportioned across the 12 towns on an enrollment percentage basis. Based on several assumptions, one of which is a 5% interest rate, another is level 30-year debt. This is the impact across the district. For example, in the town of Mashpee, with the average assessed single-family home, the impact would be 11 cents per thousand in Mashpee, which is around $53 on the tax rate. Keep in mind that 5% is very high for an interest rate if we were to go out to borrow today, and we hope it's very high when we do go out to borrow. If we went out today, it would be around 3.25%, which would have some associated savings with the numbers I'm sharing with you right now. So that's where we are now. There are several contingencies within these numbers, and if those don't come to fruition, that would also lead to decreases in the cost. But throughout this process, as numbers have become available, we've been committed to a transparent process and also presenting conservative numbers. Numbers that can only go down. And once this project is voted upon, it cannot go up. It cannot exceed the budget that is set in the project scope and budget agreement with the Mass School Building Authority. Just a note about the number. I don't want to gloss over a $127 million project. That is not a number Cape Cod sees every day. The last time we come to the 12 towns for capital costs, anything over our operating budget, was 45 years ago when this district was founded. We've been handling all our capital needs within our existing operating budget till now. And then finally, a little note about the vote. As I said earlier, it's per our regional agreement. We have an agreement with the 12 towns that was done in the early 70s, which calls the Chapter 7116N rule for acquiring debt. And that means that the hours can be no less than 4 hours and no more than 8 hours. So we are affording the most amount of hours for the election as possible. Some have framed this as a Cape Cod Tech decision. It is not. It is a regional agreement and state law decision. And it's from 12 to 8, which is unusual. As we know, most voting goes from 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. So it's 12 to 8 on October 24th. All expenses of the election are paid by the district. The town clerks will be invoicing us. As I said before, the voter registration is up until October 4th until 8 o'clock. And then absentee ballots are available now and will be available all the way through October 23rd at the town hall at the town clerk's office. So with that, I will open it up to questions from the audience. Thank you. Yes?
What's the projected longevity of the new building?
When you build with the National Building Authority, it's approximately 40 to 50 years. Yes?
Current enrollment is what?
Current enrollment is 623, which I shared on that slide. Currently that number, that's October 1 of last year. We are a little bit below that right now.
So the 650 number over how many years did you say?
40.
40.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's expected to stay pretty low.
It's expected to stay a little level. I mean, as I said in the outset, it's kind of a crystal ball when you're talking in the out years, the 20 to 30 to 40 years. There was a major increase in enrollment in the 90s. There was a major decrease in the early 2000s. It's kind of leveled off. I don't remember predictions for either one of those ups or
In
downs.
other words, the current enrollment is not much different than the worst case scenario over the next 4 decades.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So then what's anticipated for the commensurate operating costs if you've made any of those projections over, say, the first 10 years of the
You're talking about
plan?
like the maintenance and operational costs?
The school budget that each town subsidizes.
Okay, so I would say that, typically our budget increases are in the 2.5% to 3% range. So one thing we are committed to working on is our per pupil expenditure costs. We are one of the higher vocational technical schools with regard to per pupil costs. So we're working on that. Some of that's in particular Cape, but even in comparison to Upper Cape, we're a little higher. So the enrollment decline that we've suffered over the last couple of years has contributed to that as well, because when you lose students, unless you lose a lot of students, you still have to keep the lights on, you still have to have virtually the same staffing. But I don't know if I'm answering your question with regard to costs. But
Well, what I'm getting at, if the building costs $128 million,
yes,
is the square footage comparable or significantly more?
it's about 5,000 or 6,000 square feet more.
Is it a LEED certified building?
LEED silver.
So there's a presumption that there'd be some efficiencies from an operating overhead standpoint, apart from staff, faculty, and so forth, just
Right.
operation of the building.
That's what I was, in the beginning of my answer, that's what I thought we were going towards. And I'm being told that's going to be somewhat of a wash, although obviously some of our maintenance costs are going to go down because we have a new facility. Right now, we're spending a tremendous amount on preventative maintenance and keeping things running.
Sure.
But there's a lot of rules and regulations around air exchange.
Yeah, the codes change over time, so the amount of air you need to circulate through the air, through the building for ventilation increased significantly since the time this building was designed and built. So we have extremely efficient systems, but we are circulating more air.
So electricity kind of goes up, heating costs go down. So it's kind of a wash, is what we're being told.
So all told, it rolls into what you're assuming will continue at a 2.5% per annum increase run rate.
Right.
For both personnel, overhead, building, energy.
And that's that's exclusive of the debt.
Of the debt?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
What are the shortfalls and the reason why you're not going to get reimbursement for 45% that you mentioned?
Sure. The biggest contributor to that is construction costs. The MSBA caps their construction cost reimbursement at $326 per square foot. This building is estimated, we're going to be building it about, if approved, in about 2 years approximately after bidding. Construction documents are created and bidding. Shovels hit the ground in probably 2 years after the vote. That's projected to be, through midpoint of construction, about $472 per square foot. So that delta between $472 and $326 is completely on us in the district and the towns. So that's approximately $24 million of unreimbursable costs. That's one of the things driving us from 45 to 33. Another is equipment, sometimes called FF&E, which is furniture, fixtures, and equipment for a project. They allot $2,400 per student, the MSBA. That comes out to about $1.7 million. But that's the same allotment they give a regular traditional high school, where we have to equip academic rooms, but we also have to equip 15 technical areas. So that's never enough. It's never enough for a traditional school. It's certainly not enough for us. We're over about $4 million in furniture, fixtures, and primarily equipment. Only 1.7 of that is reimbursement. So there's another number that's driving 45 to 33. And the last of this is the site costs. They cap that at 8%. So you saw the demolition of the existing school, if we get approved. That has to be turned into parking lots. There's a good amount of earth moving that needs to happen. And 8% is never enough for a traditional project. And in this case, it's the same. So I don't remember. I think that was around $4 million. That was unreimbursable. So you put the couple million for the fixtures, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and the site differential, and then that big construction. That's what drives us from 45 to 33.
So my follow-up question is,
Yes.
why is the construction cost per square foot so much higher than what the state is saying is the cap?
Yeah, it's really the inflation in the construction industry over the last 3 or 4 years just is not, the MSBA is not, they don't have the funds to keep up with that, quite frankly. About 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, you could have built a building for $326 a square foot. Today, you can't. So the MSBA is funded, by the way, by 1% of the sales tax. They have commitments across the state. They did raise, during this phase we've been in, they've raised it by $14, which contributed a little more reimbursement. It is something that we've been advocating them to bid up a little, bring up a little bit, to be closer to the industry. But I don't think they're ever going to get, unless construction gets a little deflationary in the future, I don't know how they're going to keep up with construction costs. So I don't ever see that completely going to zero like it was back 4 years ago. So for timing on construction costs, we're a little late in the process. But for interest rates, right now we're in good shape. So hopefully that maintains. Yes.
One of the big arguments for technical education on the Cape between your school and Upper Cape is retention of these graduates to work in the trades on the Cape. Is there any data that's not anecdotal that compares the number of graduates from the technical school systems on the Cape that stay here versus leaving the Cape for more opportunities versus what comes out of the traditional public school environment?
Unfortunately, no. It's anecdotal. So it is anecdotal. I can't say it's
What's your
not.
hunch?
My hunch is a very high percentage of our students stay on the Cape, work on the Cape, live on the Cape. I tell the story, kid right around the street, I call him a kid, he's 30-something now. He was in our Marine Service program, like the Mass Maritime. He's making more than all of us, or many of us in this room. Has a home, single, bought a home right around the corner from me, doing quite well. Delivered a sign to him the other day. I think there's a lot of stories. You go to the boat yards on the Cape, you go to the HVAC contractors on the Cape, you go to the electrical contractors, you see our graduates. If you go to Harwichport Heating and Cooling, you'll see 5, 6, 7 graduates just right away when you walk in the door, if you get out before the trucks go up. It's just one anecdotal story like that after another. Although we do a follow-up study, a graduate follow-up study, which is 1 year, it's only a snapshot 1 year after graduation, but it doesn't ask that geographic question. But most of the people in our school do the survey, and most of those phone calls are to the Cape. Meaning they've got a job on the Cape, unless they're pursuing further education. About 40% of our students do go on to further education, which also can take the form of technical colleges, which is a continuation of what we've been teaching them. And 60% of them will go on into the workforce, and a couple percent will go into the armed forces as well.
Is there a dual enrollment program between the tech school and the college? Community college?
Yes, dual enrollment is not very vibrant in our school, but what we do have are articulation agreements. In many of our programs, we have, I believe, over 35 to 40 articulation agreements with Cape Cod Community College and other post-secondary institutions for the work that our students do. For example, in culinary arts, with Johnson & Wales, they have articulation agreements. With Cape Cod Community College, they have articulation agreements for up to 12 credits, I believe. So they walk in with a B or better in our school. They're walking in with 12 credits going into a culinary program. That's just one example, but most of our programs have some sort of articulation agreement. If it's not with Cape Cod Community, it's with another community college or a technical school where our kids get an advanced standing moving into those schools.
But all the academic instruction happens at the tech school, not at the college.
That is correct.
With
With an exception, I should say, our engineering technology program has been doing a satellite course with Cape Cod Community College in SolidWorks, CAD software, computer-aided design software. So that's really one of our first entrees into that hybrid type learning, where the students stay after school, in the case of engineering technology, and they learn SolidWorks from about 3 to 5 o'clock with a Cape Cod Community professor on a screen, kind of like this. Another thing with regard to the community interaction is our co-op and internship programs. Co-op education in 11th and 12th grade and internships. In the second half of their junior year and all their senior year, students can go out into the field and work and earn a living, earn a wage. In the case of co-op internships, they can be paid or unpaid. During their technical time, we have a schedule that's 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, meaning 2 weeks in academics, 2 weeks in the technical area in 11th and 12th grade, and they can take the opportunity to work with an employer. They work with our co-op coordinator to make sure it's a dynamic experience, not that they're doing the same thing all the time. They get rated by their employer, they get pulled off if the grades go down, they get put back out if the grades go up. We had over 100 students out in the field this past year, half of the last several years. That always kind of follows the economy, but we've also, every year we have a job fair in March for any employers out there. Talk to our co-op coordinator, Paul Smith, and he can set you up with a table because the demand for work this past summer was acute in almost all industries, and we see that going forward. And it's a great chance to take a look at our students. And co-op's a great chance to test drive our students as employees. Yes?
Do you encourage students to do community service as a way of showing their appreciation for the Cape?
Yeah, there's been a lot of that. You know where it comes out, in many areas that comes out, but in our senior project, all of our students have to complete a senior project as a graduation requirement. And it has a paper that they have to write, there's a project that they have to do, there's a presentation, and there's a portfolio of that whole experience, so the 4 Ps. But the project often, and we have an event in May where you can come and see the students presenting, we call it Senior Project Showcase. And more often than not, I would say 20% 25 to 50% of those projects take the form of some sort of community service, especially in our health, our dental areas, our early childhood area, where they've gone out into the community and taught students about certain safety things. Maybe they teach them CPR. They document the experience as a part of their senior project. And there's been some really cool ones over the years. Right now, there's one of our guidance counselors is organizing because of breast cancer awareness, which is going to be starting on October 1st. They're going to be participating, students and staff are going to be participating in the walk that's happening in Barnstable. I want to say it's 2 weeks from now, but those types of things quite often happen. Yes.
So I had a question, and I am on the school committee, but can you talk a little bit just about, again, the educational piece of this? Because one of the things that I learned from coming on the committee and touring the building, the dental clinic is about the size of that little square area there, how they function there. Yeah. The plumbing instructor went to visit him and he said, well, we don't really have exhaust hoods where we can teach the kids how to use PVC. And I'm like, wait a second, everybody uses PVC now. Yeah. How is the building and the equipment going to help with some of the educational pieces?
Well, two things. First, the existing conditions, which Vladimir talked about a little bit. Most of the programs, academic and technical, are operating in spaces that the DESE, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, wouldn't allow students in today. We're grandfathered as an existing facility, but in particular, dental assisting is like 425 square feet of space for students. The average academic classroom has to be 825. Technical areas typically have to be quite larger. The existing facility educationally, also with the open floor plan, has been very challenging. Most of the spaces are undersized. And then the building envelope issues have created even more issues in those existing spaces. So moving forward, what we hope to do is, as Vlad said, was to integrate the academic and technical programs. So as you see, the purple are technical areas. This one you're looking at here at the bottom left is a construction cluster, which would have horticulture, HVAC, carpentry, electrical, and plumbing. So those four spaces. And right up above in the green areas are the academic, your core academic subjects of math, English, science, and social studies, and special needs areas. And then in the middle, some collaboration space, which Vlad shared with you. Imagine the ability for academic and technical teachers to work on project-based learning to make what's happening in the technical area and what's happening in the academic area, make it relevant. That they can work. Teachers, first of all, are near each other, can talk to each other. There's areas for them to sit down and plan out lessons that take English and math and integrate it with whether it be plumbing, whether it be HVAC. One thing in the envisioning and some of our strategic planning that we've done is we want to see the technical areas get a little more academic. We want to see the academic areas get a little more technical, a little more hands-on, a little more answering the question of why are we learning this. I think our education lends itself to that already. The new facility, as designed, will, I think, exponentially help that issue. And then on the far right, that is our transportation area. That's your auto and auto collision, auto tech and auto collision, and our marine services. Marine services is operating in an area which is basically a garage with a makeshift theory room. Every technical area in this new design will have a separate space where they can have classroom instruction, which I would say most of our technical areas do not have right now, which is invaluable. Where you take the kids off the floor and say, you're making a mistake here, this is what you need to be doing. And then also allowed to deliver, for example, electrical code theory in electrical. When you go over to the front, across from the gym, you have your hospitality offerings, which is cosmetology and culinary, and then above, the classrooms are right above. And then on the top floor, right here is our STEAM area, we're calling, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We have art integrated, that's the STEAM, that's the A in STEM. We have our engineering technology program, which I talked to you earlier, information technologies, and also design and visual communications. Once again, the academics right across the hall, and our teachers are already starting to get excited about this and starting to integrate. We have a group going to see Dr. Locker on the day of the vote, actually, to talk about project-based learning, which we have a lot of experience in the technical area. In the academic area, we got some work to do. Most schools do, and I think this will accelerate when academic and technical teachers are more closely housed. And then over on the last side is what we're calling our life sciences area, which would be health and dental, once again with the academic classrooms. And we'll actually have a science lab within health technologies and also a science lab across the hall, which will be absolutely essential for those two disciplines to ramp up expectations and expose them to more and more in the health fields. So we're really excited about, because that was really what was in this educational plan. And it's not pie in the sky, because in the end, cost became somewhat expensive, but neutral. If you look back at the cost estimates from the beginning, the new facility now has fallen into the reno-only option, which was renovating our facility in the existing square footage, where you can't have temporary auto tech classrooms. It would have been, one thing that wasn't mentioned was 4 years of renovation versus about 2.5 years of new construction, with costs, although expensive, and we're down from this, we're at 127 estimated right now, which almost falls into the reno only, which would have been a disaster for educationally for about 40 years, quite frankly. So I think the school building committee that I shared with you at the beginning made the right choice. It was a unanimous vote. We came up with a very elaborate way to come to a conclusion, and rapidly happened because C2, the one that we shared with you, was the obvious choice. So if that begins to answer that question. Now, one other quick thing, this gray area is also helping us with those LEED silver points. The windows are also helping with LEED silvers. And the windows have been a source of, environmentalists love it. Some have pointed it out as a hindrance or a cost inflator. I've been told from our experts that cost-wise it's almost neutral from a natural light, from a LEED silver perspective, which we are getting 2 additional reimbursement points for LEED. And once you get away from that area, these winged areas in the back, the window systems are much more conventional. They actually are coming in pre-built, what do we call them? Slabs? Cast in concrete slabs, which have the window opening already within them, all the insulation within them. It'll be like an erector set, I'm told. So, and that's a green roof in the gray area, was the other point I was going to make, which is also giving us some LEED points for LEED silver for this project, if approved. October 24th from 12 to 8.